Hi, sweet cheeks. We're back with another episode, and this time with my friend from high school, probably one of my favorite people in this world, Izzo. Hello,
Hi.
Izzo. I could give you her full name, Athena Isabella Hamilton Russell, but we'll call her Izzo.
Yeah, we can call her Izzo for now.
Izzo for now. And Izzy and I have been friends for the longest time, but also our relationship, I feel, only really took flight as soon as we left high school.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah. I feel like too. Yeah, our relationship has definitely grown, but I think it's grown as we've kind of just grown into more versions of ourselves, which I think is an affirmation.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
It's really cool. So we definitely done our own processes and journeys and yada, yada, yada. But I think something I relate to most about Izzy is her energy and how she moves through this world. I think we move through this world in very similar. Don't cry. It'll be embarrassing.
Not even 2 minutes in.
We move in this world very similarly, and I love her light and her energy and the aura and what she gives to other people. And that's why I want to give her to you today. Hello, Izzy.
Hello.
And she's also funny sometimes.
Sometimes.
Not
always.
She's got jokes, but she's also like a serious professional. And she's just
currently
a healer,
unemployed.
Currently unemployed. You're making moves.
I'm trying.
Don't say that, because every person I've brought onto the episode thus far, there's 2 of you, but you've all been unemployed. But
you have a theme, Zoe. You have a theme.
And before I was thinking to myself, no, all my friends are hardworking, driven people, and also apparently unemployed.
You don't have to have this specific structure to be if you're officially employed, doesn't mean you're not working hard.
No. They're grafting, they're grinding.
In sort of different directions.
So the name of this episode that I was working on and just brainstorming was Fat Kids Think Big. And play the violin music.
Oh my god. Wow. Wild. That threw me for.
Hello, my name is Zoe Human.
A wild one.
My name is Zoe Human, and I self-identify as a fat kid. Now it's your turn.
Me too.
I wasn't gonna say it.
Baby Izzo, though. I want to be kind to baby Izzo.
Plus size Izzo. Izzo XL.
Izzo XL.
Izzo did excel, and that's why I wanted her on this podcast. Because you're beautiful. I love your style, your fashion. I think anyone who I introduced
to you,
wearing
a pink jumpsuit today.
Yes,
guys.
And then I changed outfit to match.
Because I set the trend.
Take me through young Izzo. You wanted to speak to her and speak for her.
Oh,
talk to her,
baby Izzo.
Yeah.
Gosh, what a journey. I think baby Izzo serves as an inspiration for me in my life. You mentioned that I was a fat kid.
I'm going to put right here the photo of you in braids. The ones with you in braids.
That one's a cute one, though. I'll take that one. You can put it big up, baby Izzo. Gosh, yeah, it has been a journey. I think you mentioned, we were discussing this the other day, being a kid that's overweight and bullied, and how you end up learning to work on your personality and who you want to be in this world and how you want to make other people feel. I think that lends well to kind of the light that we both want to
exude,
bring to people and bring to spaces.
100%.
That was something that was I guess we couldn't use.
Do you feel like when you meet
looks
people
on the playground to get friends?
Triggered.
Yeah,
do you ever feel like you see people and you see them move through life and you're like, you were a fat kid? I know.
I think so, but I mean, I've also been listening to a lot of podcasts recently, and I think people who often end up being successful or driving towards some sort of motivation and goal in life went through whatever struggle it is. Not to say that was our only struggle.
Our biggest struggle in life.
Our biggest struggle, because
being chubby,
it wasn't, but it certainly added to the deck stack of things that we were struggling with.
I mean, I think I even think about it now. I think when I'm in a changing room, I still get this cold sweat and
absolutely
the stress, the pressure. If I indulge a little too much and you get the looks don't go back there, watch out.
Yeah, it feels like
it's in your blood.
And I think that it never really leaves you. That feeling of feeling like you need to look better to be a certain way. It plays in your head, but I think I've learned to, and that's what I'm really grateful for, learn to use myself as my own like inspiration, like to get myself out with, you know, the right mindset and like happy thoughts, and like just realizing that my body is just a vessel and it really doesn't matter.
Amen.
Like,
and it's ever changing.
It's ever changing. And I think
vessel.
that's also something I'm like learning now, like coming into my 30s, is like, I literally feel like I'm
Don't say that.
I know.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. I feel like I'm getting old, but 30 is not old. Your dirty 30s, I'm very excited.
I've started saying that like 30s feels like what 40s felt like back in the day. Do you know what I mean? Or no, other way around.
One thing I think people are not speaking about a lot is like how women coming into their 30s literally go through a second puberty. Like my whole body feels like it's gone through this next level of change, and I think that has also brought back trauma from like, not trauma is a very hectic word, but
trauma, but like, yes, trauma, this feeling of anxiety and
from being a young girl and feeling like I wasn't the way that people thought I should look.
Do you know what I want to say now before you continue? I want you to have this conversation completely allowing yourself to feel the tremendousness of what you felt as a kid, because I feel like now that we're older and we know we look good now and we know our bodies are societally acceptable, it's okay now to and we're not expected to still have some grief from our past experiences. However, if we were still in that position, if we were still not working on ourselves or trying to put the best version of ourselves into society, our trauma would be very different when we walk through this world. So like, it's okay. Feel what you want to feel. I want this to be a safe space for anyone that walks onto it. And like, I would hate to feel like I can't think that I'm like big and plus size. Like I'm 84 kgs. Like that's huge. You can tell me I'm not fat. Don't tell me I'm not fat because the BMI test said I was. You know, so it's like,
me too. That BMI test is rigged, girl. That BMI test is rigged.
So the pretty helps and it like offsets it, and because it's in the right places, that's okay. But like, I think just love your body, own it. You know, like we can feel whatever we want to feel about ourselves.
What I was speaking about earlier is that having now like coming into my 30s, it's like this next decade of like learning to re-love my body through the changes it's going through in this space, and it's kind of brought back needing to deal with that as a kid. And I'm like, oh shit, I thought I dealt with this. Like I thought I was 100%. I thought I was like over. I was confident, like I felt just truly in my body being like, you know, fuck what everyone else has to say about what you look like. Yes, you're not the perfect picture of what society deems as like the hottest thing ever, but you love yourself for the journey that you've gone on, and you've learned to bring your own light and project that onto the world. But yeah, coming now into my 30s, I'm like, fuck, things are changing again, and I'm like reminded of that 6-year-old girl like on the playground that was being bullied, or you know, standing on a scale in front of the doctor, in front of my parents, and my parents arguing about the fact that I was too fat, and being like, what are we going to do with this child? This is ridiculous. Like, she doesn't want to stop eating. And obviously there was reasons for me to be, you know, overeating in that way. But I feel like now coming into my 30s, there's this like next level of growth that I need to go through, from like unlearning, like another layer of unlearning that feeling that I had as a child in my body. The healing's never really done. You just kind of like take off layer by layer by layer by layer as you go throughout the journey of life. And I think that's also really important for women to think about when it comes to their relationship with their body, is how do we learn to love ourselves at each stage of our life? Because in your 20s, your body looks great and you're like, hell yeah, I'm feeling it. I'm getting that like affirmation from people. I'm looking good. And then your 30s and other, you know, more struggles come in, and then your 40s and then your 50s and your 60s, and then suddenly you're in your 70s and shit, your body don't look like it looked like when you were 20, you know? But learning to love yourself along that full journey, I think.
It's a journey, and it's a journey. I'm grateful that I can also like document this journey like online, and I think that's why I've also wanted to start this podcast now, because I feel like
so important.
I'm at the pinnacle of life. Like it's like I expect everything to come now. And we were having this chat last week, and you said to me that Zoe, you have to start the podcast now, because once you're happy and settled, nobody's gonna want to listen to you. And I was like,
that is so true. Honestly, when you
like, Izzy, I can't tell you how that completely changed everything. You know, like when you pray to God and you say, "Dear Lord, I am not looking for anyone now." You know,
I'm not looking for anyone.
God, I am working on myself now.
But hello, where are they?
I thought I wasn't looking, but now after you said that, I was like, God wants me to put out this podcast. God wants me to like have this experience online, and that is where I am meant to go with my life. And so you saying that, I was like, she needs to talk on the podcast. I need to have that validation on cam. Validation. I need other people to feel validated that maybe their journey isn't happening exactly as they wanted, because there's a bigger plan. And maybe it's just about actioning that bigger plan, and then everything will have the follow through. When you started to change, did you notice a difference in society and how they treated you?
Oh, that's a very good question. Yeah, I think so. I think that when people start to treat you differently when you look a certain way, especially when you're fitting into those like standards that, you know, those beauty standards that society wants you to fit into, naturally, and I don't know if this is even consciously or unconsciously, people tend to treat you differently. And I think a story that really speaks to this is not actually one of my own stories, but my mum had shared this, and I'm sure she's happy for me to share this in this space. But she went through cancer 2 years ago, breast cancer, and has always been, she's a beautiful woman, blonde hair, and she, much like Zoe, lights up a space with just
much like you. We'll get her on another time, Mother's Day ep.
Exactly. She just lights up the space with such a beautiful energy. And when she went through cancer, she lost her hair, and she just said it was so interesting going to spaces, and how people didn't recognize her, which is fair enough. She looked a lot more harsh and bold because she decided, I'm not going to wear a wig, like, fuck that. I'm going to own this process that I'm going through. And she said it was just crazy. Like, she'd walk into shops, and how people she'd been shopping there for years, and they'd always treated her with like a warm smile and been like, Arabella, like, welcome back, you know. And then now having little hair and looking obviously very different, they would sort of look at what she's like, why are you in the shop, and treat her very differently. So I think that, that example in itself really just spoke to me of how, like, the pretty privilege thing we were speaking of, how it's, and I don't even know if it takes place consciously or unconsciously based, there are all these structures that we come to learn in our lives. But that really hit home for me. But in saying that, I think having watched my mum go through that journey, and how she's come out on the other side, she says she's so grateful to have witnessed that experience and lived it, because it taught her so much empathy for people in the world, and just understanding, how sometimes you can walk around with these privileges and be so unaware of how that gives you extra points in society.
I love you. I'm listening to you talking, and I was like, I'm so glad she's my friend. You really, likewise. You really are. You just put things so beautifully, and you have such a beautiful soul. Like, ever since I met you. Okay, firstly, the first thing I noticed was that you kind of remind me of...
Take it back now, y'all.
The first thing I remembered was thinking, dang, she reminds me of Hilary Duff. I'm like,
Hilary Duff?
And I love Hilary Duff. When she was in Younger, I was like, this is Izzy, bro. Like, the fashion, the style, the iconicism. Like,
do you remember her album that she produced back in the day?
No.
Oh my god, she had an album. My sister used to listen to it all the time. You should like play a little track from it. It's so funny. You'll recognize the song.
I just know her Lizzie McGuire, the movie, and that sort of face. But yeah, definitely when I saw you, I was like, this is gonna be my Lizzie McGuire. We were talking about like that change and the development. I feel like I met you cute. Like, did you feel like that way in high school?
Not really, no. I think
what do you think it takes to like have that moment? Because I know what like mine was, where I was like, okay, now I look good. It was a day, and then I was like, I don't think my life's ever going to be the same again. But like for you, what was that?
Watershed moment where you're like, hell yeah,
I look good, and I'm gonna keep looking good.
Gosh, I don't know. I don't think it ever really was a moment. But I've reflected a lot recently on like moments where I do feel like more confident and like feel like I'm, you know, my best version of myself, whether that's like looks wise / you know, how I'm showing up. And I kind of have figured a pattern in my life of like the moments where I feel the most low and like you just end up looking at my body and being like, oh girl, these pants, they don't look good on you, you know, like, or why are you not putting into that anymore?
But we say to ourselves, they don't look good on us, rather than this is a cuck pants.
But I've noticed the kind of the connection between that is usually when don't feel like I'm contributing to something, like intellectually or with my like light or my way of thinking, and when I feel like that's combined, like I'm feeling, at least, you know, exercising or doing whatever I need to, like those tech box things that you need to do in your life, combined with feeling like I'm showing up in a space where I'm able to realize my purpose. That's when I feel the best in my body, is when I feel like my purpose is well aligned and
the beauty shines in.
Yeah, beauty shines within me, and I give so much less about like what I actually look like, and I'm more worried about like, okay, you know, I'm doing and I'm adding something and I'm giving something to this world, so it really doesn't matter like what you look like. And funny enough, I was supposedly one of my like friends in the group to start drinking the latest because from a younger girl.
Okay, but you were like 14.
No, I wasn't. I was gonna say something profound, Zoe. Okay, I'd found out when I was really little that like drinking destroys your brain, which I do a lot of now because I love wine. Funny story.
And you didn't even like wine. I didn't even like
wine, you know, funny story. But that drinking destroyed your brain, and I always thought growing up as a kid that my brain's my best asset. And I think this loops back into what we were saying earlier of like, you know, not feeling like I had the currency with how I looked to be able to be valued. So I always worked on, okay, my brain, how do I make people feel? How do I want to show up in this world? That's when I feel most confident and feel best in myself, is when I'm able to fully exercise my creativity, my purpose, and I feel like that's shining through. That's when I feel my best self.
And you moved back from London. So she moved a couple of years ago to London, and now you're back.
London, to live in the big smoke.
Smoke,
up in the city.
A working girl, very
working
successful.
hard,
And she came back home. Did you come back home for your man? For me?
Good question. Obviously you, Zoe. Obviously you. No, but a few reasons I came back. You know, everyone that always says like the sunshine, but really the sunshine makes a huge difference. And I think having a sense of community in a space is one of the most like undersold values out there, like
100%.
Grinding, putting yourself in front of a screen, staring at a screen all the time, trying to achieve some sort of goal or status in whatever corporate ladder you may be working on, just seems null and void if you don't have the right community and friends and support structure. Not to say that I didn't have that in the UK, because I certainly had a version of it. But my partner was back at home, and I think that was the long-distance relationship.
And it worked, and they survived.
We survived, yeah, we survived 2 years.
How do you survive a long-distance relationship? Because in my head, no. You move, we're done. Shame. Unless we're like deep in love.
It's over.
But TBC.
It's a good question. I've been thinking about it a lot. And naturally, you know, there are moments that come up when you are doing long distance being like, this is really awful. Like, why are we doing this? But I think the few things that really make long distance work this is going to sound super obvious, but communication is so important. Learning how to communicate properly with your partner is just the be all and end all, and learning how to do that on a phone and like through again another screen is tell the truth. Tell the truth. What did you really say to me before this? What was the reason? You gotta give them something visually pleasing as well. Sorry. No, I'm kidding.
As long as you're in a committed relationship, it's okay.
It's okay.
Because when I was younger, I was handing them out one time to people who didn't deserve it. And my mommy found it on my phone. So don't do it unless you can validate your send.
And validate how it's going to be received. But that was not what I was talking about, Zoe.
I'm sorry, it's what I wanted to hear.
Another form of communication, okay? So communication, very important. That's something that certainly helps achieve success in long distance relationship. And then the next thing I think is less to do with like a relationship strategy, and I think a little bit more to personality type. You have to not be jealous. And if you're a jealous person, you're never going to work long distance. Like it's just never going to work.
That's why it'll never work. Yeah. Although I say I'm not jealous.
Just
I'm
FYI, guys, Zoe's jealous. So if you're thinking of getting into something, keep that in mind. By the way, if somebody had told me before I did this that we were going to be in a long distance relationship, I literally would have laughed in your face and been like, no, not me.
How long did you do the distance?
2 years. Just over 2 years, actually.
2 years after 1 year of dating.
Yeah, 2 years after 1 year of dating.
Crazy business.
Crazy.
That's crazy business.
And now we're living together, so I guess it is somewhat of a success story, but TBD, you know. Taking time off is actually like, it is so essential to decide how you want to retrack your life. Well, that is if you feel like you're going in a direction that maybe isn't the direction you want to go. But it's so hard to think about where you want to go, what direction you want to be in when you are in this like constant state of like just thinking about the next thing. And I was actually speaking to our friend Hannah the other day about how, you know, having these kind of like gaps and sort of vacancies in your time when you're so used to being go, 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 achieve, achieve, achieve. It's like, it's so weird. You're like, oh my God, what am I doing? How am I like, you question your value but it's in those spaces that you learn to realize and come closer to the best version of you, I think. Or at least that's been my, my
experience.
Like, exactly, experience and like something I've held on to and figuring out the purpose of me taking this year off. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's why I wanted like you guys, the people I'm going to bring on this podcast, they're all like regular people, but I think there's so much to gain from just anyone. You don't need to be a celebrity for your opinion to have worth or weight. And
Absolutely.
like celebrities are just normal people. And sometimes they're actually boring in person. Sorry. This is true. One of the last times I saw Izzy was actually when she was still doing the commute. He was still doing the commute. The UK SA commute.
Yeah.
And I'd left you waiting for an hour, I remember, in La Parada. I'm so sorry. I don't do that. That's not me at all. Like,
she's not gonna leave you waiting on a date for an hour.
Yeah, please. I am very like sensitive of people's time because I'm so sensitive of my own time, and it's because of me being on someone else's podcast as a guest. You know, as one does.
Because you're interesting.
Because I'm interesting. Thank you. But they'd firstly kept me waiting, which already I'm like, I can sometimes understand, but I'd sort of communicated But the worst part about that experience was the fact that the chat wasn't good. The chat was horrible, and it made me think, why am I here when I could be with you? And then I thought, why am I in this podcast when I could have my own podcast? It was just the way the conversation had flown and how it became. So when I walked into this space, I was so male, and one of the questions they asked me near the beginning as well is like, so what type of guys are you into? And then you're like, okay, so you didn't even like really, you maybe saw my following count and you
just assumed.
You just
saw
assumed.
A hot bikini pic of me and you were like,
how dare you, sir? No, but the thing is, the pride flag is in my bio, and I've had men hit on me before and be like, but you saw the pride flag, right? And then be like, oh, I thought that meant you were an ally. Who's putting the pride flag in the bio as an ally? That's not.
I don't know about.
That's not what people do. Maybe like a peace sign, but like, but not the pride flag.
Peace sign.
A rainbow.
Pride flag.
A rainbow maybe means like ally, but the pride flag, that means you're a gay.
Yeah,
you're gay. So then
do your research. Like,
so obviously I am out to everyone except my 90-year-old grandmother. No one tell her. She's gonna find out.
She's gonna watch this
in the afterlife. She don't have Google. If anyone in my family shows this to my grandmother, okay. Back to the story. As soon as I was like, no, actually, like, I like women, the conversation completely changed, and they were like, oh, but what don't men have? Like, but sex with a man is so good. And I'm like, okay, well, then you try it. then you have sex with a man. And they're like, no, it's not the same. I'm like, ain't it the same? You know, it's like someone else's podcast. It's their space. So I don't want to like derail their like I'm a yes man. I will go with the flow and do it.
You could have derailed it.
I definitely could have, but I was sitting there and being like, when I start my podcast, it's gonna be so accepting, such a space of understanding. That will be my rage.
Like, I'm gonna tell this story.
I'm gonna tell this fucking story.
So I may not fight back now, but best believe I'm coming back for vengeance.
Lati pota prit, if you know what I mean.
I don't know what you mean.
That is a big reason for the fact that I wanted to start this podcast, because I wanted this to be a feminine space. Like, I want men to be able to come into this podcast as well. Yeah. But I want to know it's a safe space for all to say whatever they want in whatever context. Like, don't be racist, don't be homophobic, you know, like, you can have opinions, say things that are slightly lewd and might get you cancelled, but when you say it with love, that's all that matters to me.
Just be kind.
But I did prompt Isabella not to use her coloured accent on cam. Jokes, I didn't prompt her. This is me prompting her right now.
You did not need any prompting.
Hello, my name is Isabella. That's what you sound like. It's okay. It's just me. She loves. You love when I go extra colored, because I feel like sometimes, especially with my people, I'll give a little bit extra twang. And this is something I also thought about even with this podcast. And I was like, I need to remember to not stray from myself. But that's just something from high school. It's not even got to do with you being. It's just a high school thing, you know. White? Like, yes, white. You know, like, you can do different things with different people. I actually did research on it. It's called the chameleon effect. So the same way chameleons will change the color of their skin in order to protect themselves in certain environments. Like, I've done that a lot, and I think the spaces I've done that in, like high school, basically. Yeah. And I mean, that's where you know me. So it's, I guess it's just like a comfort thing to go back to. Back to it, you know? It's that high school trauma. That private school.
We all have it. Yeah.
10% of the grade are POCs trauma.
The topic about being a chameleon can be applicable in so many different contexts, right?
100%.
And people all have different versions of themselves that they show up to in different spaces, and sometimes that can be so exhausting, very exhausting 100%. To be a different person. And I get that you need to be a different person at work, or a different person to your partner, to your loved ones, but there have to be a kind of common thread intrinsically through that. So I hope you feel like you can be.
No, the thing is, I don't even think about it. I think it's when people make you think about it and be aware of it, that's when I'm like, you know, I'm just a human being, you know.
No pun intended.
No pun intended, man.
Cut it.
That's not making the tape. I'm just a human being. Sorry, that felt like a Bob Marley song. I was ready. I'm just a human. Hey. A human being. We're going to slightly go on the wave of cancellation. Just a petit bit. Just right there. Earlier on, when we were talking about
spicy,
our story, it ties into our story, but also my story. Matric dance.
The matric dance.
That was my moment where I was like, I remember Shanaz Alexander. She was my makeup artist. May she rest in peace. I really thought she'd one day do my wedding, but she was so good, and I'm a very visual learner. So as soon as I saw her doing my face, I was like, okay, that's how you do it. And then it was never
Game
the same.
over.
I was never the same again. I knew that I had to draw on my eyebrows, and I was like, oh, you don't just okay. We see you, Shanaz.
We need to draw them on.
And you know, that was a big night for me. I also stole your matric dance date.
You stole the story away from me. I was gonna say that.
I'm sorry. Tell the story. But you stole your matric dance date from our other friend, who is also a lesbian. Now you can tell the story.
That's rubbish. That is not true. It's not true. We can get someone in to reconcile this one out.
Hello, grapevine.
No, excuse me. Let me tell my story.
The grapevine.
Let me tell the story. So, we were talking about earlier, to kind of bring back to our conversation about like that moment where you looked in the mirror and you were like, hell yeah, this is it. I'm like embodying what I envision I am. And I remember, and I think everyone at our school can remember, like Zoe flippin' Human rocking up to the matric dance and honestly just literally stealing the stage, like walking in like the most incredible celebrity down the red carpet.
With a man
I wanted to like name drop some
on the Wednesday.
I wanted to name drop some celebrities, but then I realized, with all of this like scandals coming out there, I don't want to name drop the wrong one, So
my drama teacher told me I look like Beyonce, but it's okay to look like Beyonce and not be like Beyonce if the allegations are true. However, if the allegations are not true,
I was literally
like Beyonce.
I was literally gonna say you look like Beyonce, and I was like, wait, hold up.
Hold up. The hair was just done right. The fake tan was making me look extra dark. I said, your dark is sitting. Thank you, ma'am.
And she was like literally glowing. And every single teacher, every single person came up to Zoe and they were like, wow, you truly look amazing. And I don't think it had to only do with like, your dress and how you looked and your makeup. It had to do with you feeling like you were able to look in the mirror that day.
You're a liar.
Exactly.
No, but you're right. You're right. 100%.
But be able to look in the mirror that day and feeling like your confidence was like reflecting through, because someone can be as, like red carpet, the most sexiest person out there, but they walk into a space and they don't command it. And I think that day you like walked in and you stepped in and you truly commanded the space.
Do you know what it felt like? It felt like Cinderella's story. Yeah. That little moment where she's there with like, Sam, what is everyone looking at? And they turn around and it's like, looking beautiful. That's what I felt from that night. Thank God I just didn't have like two ugly stepsisters and a bitchy stepmom at home. Sam, where's my salmon?
I'm not following.
Sam, clean the mop the floor. No, you gotta work at the diner. Jennifer Coolidge, man.
Yes.
Come on.
Okay, that's
Get it. It's literally your movie, Hilary Duff. It's literally your movie.
Shocking. It took too long to click.
I think you need to rewatch your classics.
Took too long to click. But then anyways, that evening she obviously looked so golden that my date wanted to kiss her instead. So
I mean, you weren't gonna kiss your date. Let's be real.
Yeah, probably. But,
and I kind of had a crush on him since like our grade 10 dance, because I think that was in my prime ugly era. And like he said, let's take a photo together. And
you were never in a prime ugly era. You need to shut that nonsense. But anyways, move on. I'm interrupting.
I can be honest about my ugly. Can you?
What? Yo, flaws.
Teasing.
Continue the story. Stop roasting. Continue. Okay.
So I'm better than you, and I stole your man. That's the story.
But it's not the first time you did that.
We said we weren't going to speak.
Okay, we weren't going to speak about that.
I didn't steal your man. It's just your roommate.
It's just my roommate. Well, yeah.
We didn't expect it.
We didn't expect it.
You remember you said to me that night, and that's sort of like the click. Whenever someone says, oh no, they're so straight. No,
Zoe, they're so straight.
They love dick too much. And I'm like, I'm like, that's all I needed to hear. Thank you so much. Then
I think you said to me, you looked me like dead in the eyes, and you were like, call me Tina, because I'm going to turn her. I was like, okay.
I definitely did say that, because I do say that a lot. It's unfortunate, but
facts.
It's true.
That's fact.
Not beating those allegations anytime soon. R.I.P. Tina Turner. But you know what? You just keep on rolling. Keep on rolling. So as we wrap up this little podcast, I just want to say that I love our style of friendship. And I think that's why we've actually remained such good friends, because it is a very... not unconcerned, because we are concerned about each other, but there's so little pressure.
Unconditional.
That's the word. There's so many friendships of mine that I thought would last so much longer that didn't, because it was so much pressure to give my time in a non-understanding way of where I was going and where the other person was going. And I think what we've had, and you, me, Tegan, our whole little T gang, what we had and have is that we know we're making big moves in our own personal lives, and that come to me when you can, and I will love you when I see you, and I will love you when you're not there. But I don't expect that attention from you all the time. And I think that's what's been really nice from our friendship, because it can be so difficult to know that your friends have an expectation of you that you can't give them in the moment. And that eats away at me. I won't lie to you. Like, there's so much anxiety because of it.
And you don't want to get
emotional, but it is a big stress for me, because I want the people I have in my life to know that I love them. But with social media, with all the expectations that people have on you nowadays, it can be so taxing.
Yeah, and the screen fatigue. I think, you work in a space that is, dominated by the screen, right? Like social media. There's so much time staring at your phone.
From 4:30 a.m. to
literally
late in the evening.
Yeah, and feeling like you need to then spend more time on that to catch up with your friends. I totally get that. I totally get that you need to be able to be putting in effort every now and then. Like, there has to be at least some common thread. Like, understand what's going on in their life.
Your friend can't be putting in all the effort as well. Like, you've got to,
there's got to be it's got to be reciprocal at least. But having that understanding of knowing that people have their own lives too, and you're always here to support their journey and their success is so important. But yeah, being mindful of the fact that you spend your whole day staring at a phone, and sometimes the last thing you want to do is be like, hey homie, how'd your day go? But when we do see each other, then we kick off back to where it has always been.
But I
think that's a sign of a true friend.
Do you think this is why I'm mainly friends with people in relationships?
Because honestly, that's a profound thought.
I'm not really okay. So it's either like queer people. I struggle having like heterosexual friends that aren't like pre-me coming out, but also that aren't in relationships, because I made a friend a couple of years ago, and the friendship literally lasted 2 weeks, because every time we
as a friend.
It was very close for that short period of time. But every time we went out or spoke, it was also male-centered. And I was like, I'm not used to this.
I'm getting the ick.
I'm getting such an ick. Like, talk about women with me. I love talking about myself. I love talking about your partner, like people you're invested in. But the hunt for male attention is just not something I will be spending any more of my time working on.
Absolutely. But hopefully you can, there are many single women out there that are interested in more deeper conversations. So just, single
friends. Single friends.
Yeah, single friends. You're all welcome, and please listen, because we will cover content for you too. Or Zoe will, at least.
Call me Tina, because I'm a Turner. But more on that in the next episode. I want to thank you so much for joining me and doing this with me. Friend, I love you. And
I love you too.
I hope people listen to this and realize that you're a healing queen, that your voice, your energy, what you have to give is just, it fills my cup, and I hope it's filling yours at home or wherever you're listening to this, in your car. Thank you. Love you.
Thank you.
Give it up for Izzo! I told you, more energy, more footwork, more passion.
I don't want to scream into the mic and then you're like, whoa!
Okay. Izzo! It's the very end. I'll hold it. Give it. Izzo! Terrible. It's called intercostal diaphragmatic breathing. Intercostal diaphragmatic breathing. Learn about it. Love ya. Bye.